Crabs in a bucket. The phenomenon where a group of crabs in a bucket will prevent each other from escaping. A group of crabs won't let one escape and excel, instead ensuring the group's mutual demise. It's assumed the crabs do this out of jealousy of the success of their peers, wishing to hold back those with more potential. This crab mentality has been observed in many other situations. For example, that person that you went to school with, the one that moved away and got a really good job, now you only see their posts on Instagram doing really cool stuff you couldn't even dream of. That bitter resentment. It shows that you're a crab in a bucket, just like the rest of us. Instead of having a growth mindset and trying to elevate our success stories, we constantly try to keep each other at a constant pace of mediocrity. Seeing this behaviour in crabs made me think about some of my favourite crabs, and there wasn't many that came to mind, except for Dwebble, Claw, and of course, the all-powerful Krabby. All Pokemon that can be used in battles against other Pokemon. During battles against wild Pokemon, they can be caught, taking away their life of freedom in the wilds to instead bring others into captivity and slavery with the rest of the crabs. The Pokemon are all crabs in a bucket. Instead of helping each other, the Pokemon belonging to a trainer resent the freedom of their peers and help their trainers rather than their families. But this rabbit hole goes much deeper. It's no secret that the Pokemon series has been in decline recently, with Pokemon Sword and Shield being the first game in a series that a vocal group of fans had good reason to dislike. After Pokemon were removed from the national Pokedex, it looked like the developers began to put much less effort in than before, with things like the boring Dynamax mechanic and poor animations. Lots of fans of the series were livid that the highest grossing franchise ever just decided that they weren't going to try anymore. And they had fair reason to. They had removed Pokemon and mechanics from previous games despite a massive upgrade in the technology they were using. Yet still, there were defenders of Game Freak who made excuses for the developers and tried to defend a quality game. Then, it was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, a pair of games that lowered the bar even further, being the first Pokemon remakes to actually be worse than their original. Understandably, there were many complaints to and after the release of the game, but once again, people excused the glitchy mess which was worse than the DS game that came out 10 years before it. But as always, there was people who bought both versions of the game, even though they're only going to play one. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl was a breaking point that showed us what was really happening. The game sold millions as usual because stupid people defended it. Instead of letting the game die and showing the developers that the fans wouldn't accept a lazy, poor quality game, fans argued with each other and let the Pokemon company get away with it. We are crabs in Game Freak's bucket. Instead of pressuring them to make a better game, we all settle for mediocrity. Then whenever anyone criticises the developers, a vocal group of fans tries to defend them. This forces all fans to settle for low quality, buggy games that Game Freak pumps out yearly. Instead of the franchise developing and improving over time, it instead stagnates and becomes a merchandise machine instead, leaving the games to die. We are Krabby in a bucket. Make sure everyone else stays in here with us, eventually leading to our mutual deaths.